Welcome back to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Friday Night Rivals pregame show. We are getting you ready for kickoff as the Hustling Hawks from Greenfield travel to Greendale to take on the Panthers. Greenfield is 3-1 overall, losing the opener to a really good Columbus team and has won 3 in a row since. We are now joined by the head football coach at Greenfield High School. He's Mike Kubas. Coach, how you been?
You know, we're starting off 3-1, Coach. I can't complain. We got a big game this week, and we're pretty excited around here.
Man, it's good to see you again. I ran into you a couple of times in the off season, and you said, "Look, we got a chance. We got some. We lost some pretty good players from last year, but we have a core of players coming back." You know, Coach, similar to Greendale, you guys played a really good team week 1 in Columbus. And you said you would not be surprised if they win Division IV state championship. Big size, speed. They got a quarterback that could spin a little bit. And now, since that game, and you guys competed really well with them, you've won 3 in a row, similar to Greendale, right? They're 3-1, 2-0 in conference. And Coach, when we talk about rivalry teams, right? Rivalry games, two miles apart. Now they've had their way with you a little bit. And I said, look, in the first segment, it's not a real rivalry until Greenfield gets one, and they're planning on trying to get one this week. Do you agree with that?
Oh, completely. I mean, I don't think we've won in this rivalry since 2015, and you know they've taken it to us back to the Coach Stoltz era, and you know it's about time that hopefully we can pull a rabbit out of the hat here.
You know, Joe Cook's not going to be happy with me. Because when I looked back, I missed the 2015 one. And in the first segment, I said something about 2003, 2004. And I got a feeling I'll get a phone call from Joe Cook saying, hey, hold on. When I was coaching the Hustling Hawks, we got one against them.
He'll definitely let you know.
Oh, he will. Trust me. It's interesting because the schools are so close. And your kids practice any different for a week like this when they know they're going against the Panthers?
I mean, you know it, Mike. The practices get a little bit more intense. The hitting gets a little bit more intense. Everyone, you know, sits a little bit more upright in film. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be lying if our kids and their kids probably didn't have this game circled for a long time.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's interesting when those two communities come together. They're football communities. You know, both schools have had a lot of success in other sports. But when you shake it down, when they play, whether it's baseball or football, volleyball, when Greenfield and Greendale play against each other, the crowd is big and the rivalry is on. Coach, I want to talk to you about a couple of players, 3 of them, in fact, who are leading this team. And when we talked over the summer, you said one thing that we have is the leadership of these kids. They understand what it takes, get in the weight room, you know, make sure that our culture is really strong over at Greenfield. And Kenny Jersey is a kid that I want to start with. Coach, when you watch film on your team, whatever film you're watching, you're going to notice this kid.
And number 3 is all over the field, and he's going to, first off, he's a phenomenal football player, but he'll probably leave here as one of the best decorated wrestlers that this place has ever seen. And, you know, he's got 18 total tackles right now and 2 sacks and a couple picks, and he's everything you'd look for as an outside linebacker.
Yeah, he doesn't mind. And that wrestling comes in. He doesn't mind hitting people.
No, he doesn't. No, definitely.
And
he's looking for
Coach, you watch the tape and watch some of the highlights, and that kid is he flies the ball and he will hit you if you're moving. Another kid, Jaden Valdez, is a kid I want to talk to you a little bit about. How is he playing this year?
He's doing great for us. I mean, Coach, he's already got 320 yards, 2 TDs passing, you know, about 100 yards rushing with the TD. And he's doing really, really well. And I look forward to his future on Saturdays. But let's, you know, that's in the future. I would like to focus on this one Friday. I need to slow down a little bit here.
Hey, was he your starting quarterback last year as well?
Yeah, yes, he was. And he's really stepped into a role this year as far as taking control of things. And it's been a luxury to have him around.
Yeah, it does. When I was talking with the coach at Greendale, there's something different about a kid who's a junior or even a sophomore starter. And when they get to be that senior, they understand that it's their huddle. They own the huddle, and they're the ones that everybody's looking at, right? Let's make a good play. Let's make sure that we're running this correctly. One other player, Coach, before I get ask you a couple of other questions. Damian Alexander, can you talk a little bit about what he brings to your team?
The tangibles with that kid are so incredibly. It's just immeasurable. I mean, he's already got 10 touchdowns, darn near 500 yards. Rushing. He's got about 60, 65 yards receiving, and it's just he's an amazing kid who's worked his tail off. And just when you talk about coachable kids, that's exactly what you're looking for.
Hey, Coach, give me your background. You were an assistant coach at Franklin, I believe, correct? And where else? And how long you've been the head coach at Greenfield?
So this is my third year at Greenfield. As you said before, I've been incredibly blessed to still keep in contact with Lewis at Franklin, and he's been an excellent mentor to me. I actually played for him, so I've known Lewis for darn near 30 years here.
Wow.
Coach at the University of North Dakota for 3 seasons, so that was amazing. I teach here. This job came open, and I was still teaching at Franklin, and my wife was the one who said, no, you need to apply here, and it's been great. It's been awesome.
What is her first name?
Her name's Annie.
Annie, I thank you for pushing him to do this, because he's a really good head coach and the head of the program. You know, that 6 inches over on the bench from being an assistant to a head coach, that first year is really difficult, right? There's a lot of paperwork, and now you're the face of the program. I think things have slowed down a little bit now in that part for you.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a mile anymore. It's just getting back to that 6-inch point, and you just, I don't think people realize what all the ancillary stuff that comes with being a head coach, and that's okay. It needs to get done, but I think I've told you before, Coach, instead of making suggestions, you make decisions.
Right.
And that's that true 6-inch gap is right there.
Hey, let's talk real quick before we get to a break. Your staff, these guys have to do a lot, right? You have good assistant coaches, and what's nice is you understood from Franklin and from your college days what it takes to be a really good assistant coach. They got to be willing to put in as much sweat equity as you do. They're not the head of the program, but everything kind of funnels through you. But they've got to go out and they've got to be a really good independent coach to be able to get their guys playing well. You feel pretty good about where your staff is at right now?
They're amazing. Our offensive coordinator, Drew Morris, who moved up here from Georgia, is unbelievable, and I'm so incredibly lucky that his dad came with him, Kenny, who coached for 40 years in Georgia as well. And my defensive coordinator, Austin Burlage, it's his second year being our defensive coordinator, and things have been great. And one thing I pride myself on that I'm very proud of is I have 2 former players who are now coaches, and Jamison Cook, who I coached at Pewaukee, and a young man named Justin Green, who early on in my career I coached at Milwaukee, Washington with Greg Lehman. So that's been really, really cool to see.
Man, Coach, you can the names that you're throwing out with Lewis Brown and Greg Lehman, and these are the guys that are on Mount Rushmore, right? You've learned from the best, and I wish you luck tonight. A rivalry game, anytime you go to Greendale, it's a 2-mile drive, but boy, I'll tell you what, it's huge in the neighborhoods and the communities. We're going to get to a break. On the other side of the break, we'll be joined by this week's Current Electric behind-the-scenes superhero of the week. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Friday Night Rivals pregame show only on My 24.